A Chinese graphics processing unit built without access to the world's most advanced lithography machines and cut off from leading American chip design tools is now running real-time three-dimensional graphics and artificial intelligence inference on the same piece of silicon. Only one company on Earth has fully mastered that combination. That company is Nvidia. And what More Threads has shipped is not a roadmap slide, it is a product. Before you say China has specialty artificial intelligence chips, and that this is nothing new, this is different. Cambricon does artificial intelligence. Various Chinese firms do graphics. More Threads does both, on the same architecture at the same time. That distinction is the whole story, and it matters more than almost any coverage of Chinese semiconductors has acknowledged. Think about what it means to own a unified graphics processing unit platform. Gaming runs on it. Professional visualization runs on it. Artificial intelligence training runs on it. Whoever owns that platform in China controls the compute substrate for one of the largest and most rapidly self-contained technology markets on the planet. The stakes are not abstract. They are measured in which developers build what? On whose silicon for the next decade. By the time you reach the end of what follows, you will understand why unified graphics processing unit architecture is genuinely difficult, what More Threads has actually demonstrated versus what it still lacks, and where the real race is being run. Most coverage has been looking at the wrong track entirely. Here is the first reframe. This is not really a story about one chip. It is about which layer of the technology stack determines who wins, and whether More Threads has figured out that the silicon is, in a certain sense, the easy part. The driver stack, the software layer sitting above the hardware that makes the chip actually useful, gets mentioned here and then set aside. That payoff comes later, because that is where the race is actually being decided. To understand why More Threads matters, you have to understand what Nvidia built and how long it took. Nvidia's data center revenue came in at approximately $47 billion in fiscal year 2024, company reported. By most analyst estimates, Nvidia holds a dominant share of the artificial intelligence accelerator market. The precise figure varies depending on the metric and the period, but no serious analysis puts a competing company within striking distance at the top. That revenue and that share are not the product of one good chip cycle. They are the product of a compounding platform. CUDA launched in 2006. That is approximately 19 years of ecosystem accumulation as of 2025. 19 years of libraries. cuDNN for deep neural networks, cuBLAS for linear algebra, TensorRT for inference optimization. 19 years of developers learning to write code that runs best on Nvidia hardware. 19 years of frameworks, PyTorch, TensorFlow, and dozens of specialized toolkits, all built with Nvidia as the assumed substrate. Think of a unified graphics processing unit like a single chef who can run both the breakfast and dinner service. Not one or the other, the same kitchen, the same tools, switching between them in real time. Most restaurants staff two completely separate crews. Nvidia figured out the one crew kitchen. But here's the part that matters. The challenge is not just the kitchen equipment, it is the recipes, the decades of optimized workflows, the institutional knowledge, the trained instincts that every serious cook in the industry has now built around Nvidia's kitchen. You cannot buy those recipes. You cannot reverse engineer them from the equipment. They accumulate through use, one project at a time, over years. That is what More Threads is up against. So, what have they actually built? More Threads was founded in 2020. The company reported founding team includes former Nvidia engineers, among them Zhang Jianzhong. 5 years is not a long time in semiconductors. But in 5 years, they have shipped something that, by the competitive landscape as it stands, makes them unique. As far as the public record shows, they are the only Chinese company running graphics rendering and artificial intelligence compute on a single unified architecture. The company describes this as MUSA, the More Threads Unified System Architecture. The product lineup reflects the claim. The MT-TS80 targets gaming and graphics workloads. The MTTS 4000 targets professional visualization and artificial intelligence. Both sit on the same architectural foundation. That is not a marketing distinction. A traditional artificial intelligence accelerator is a purpose-built sprinting track, fast in one lane, useless for anything else. A unified graphics processing unit is a full athletic stadium. You can run the sprints, but you can also do the hurdles, the shot put, and the long jump. More Threads built a stadium. Whether the stadium has working lighting, functioning scoreboards, and a properly calibrated track surface, that is a separate and very important question. Because the hardware is the stadium, and the lighting and the scoreboards are the driver stack. A graphics processing unit driver is not simply an interface between the chip and the operating system. It is a translation layer, a performance optimizer, and a compatibility guarantor. When a developer writes code that calls a matrix multiplication routine, the driver is what decides how that operation gets distributed across thousands of compute cores, how memory gets staged, how the result gets handed back. Nvidia's driver team has been shipping updates continuously for nearly 2 decades. The result is a layer of optimization so deep that the same chip running a mature Nvidia driver and an immature one might perform like 2 completely different products. Early reports from developers who have tested More Threads hardware suggest the driver stack is not there yet. Instability, missing optimizations, and limited library support appear in early adopter and developer community feedback. This is not a fatal diagnosis. Every driver stack starts immature, but it sets the timeline for when the silicon actually becomes useful at scale. More Threads has announced MUSA compatibility tools aimed at easing migration from CUDA workflows, though their maturity and real-world effectiveness are unverified. The intent is clear. Make it easier for developers who already know the CUDA mental model to shift their code to MUSA without rewriting everything. Whether the tools deliver on that intent in practice is a question the next round of independent testing will have to answer. Can they just hire more engineers and accelerate the driver work? Yes, and they will. But Nvidia's driver team numbers in the thousands and has been iterating since 2006. You cannot purchase 19 years of iteration. You can only accumulate it. That is the structural nature of the lead. Not a gap you close with a funding round, but a gap you close with time and developer adoption, which are the same thing expressed differently. So, where does the 155% revenue figure actually fit into this picture? More Threads cleared a Star Market initial public offering in December 2025. The company reported that revenue in the first quarter grew 155% year-on-year. Both of those things are real events, but they require different kinds of weight. The initial public offering is a capital event with genuine consequences. It brings liquidity, regulatory disclosure requirements, and a formal valuation. Star Market listing standards impose ongoing reporting obligations that will make future revenue figures more verifiable than pre-listing company claims. The initial public offering is proof of investor confidence and access to capital, both meaningful. The 155% revenue growth figure is a company claim, not independently audited at the time of this video. And here is the context that matters. The absolute revenue figure, what 155% is 155% of, is not confirmed within the information available. A 155% growth rate from a very small base is like doubling the speed of a car that started at 10 miles per hour. You are now at 25 miles per hour. That is a real and impressive trajectory. It is not highway speed. The initial public offering is not proof that More Threads has achieved competitive performance against Nvidia. Companies go public before they win, sometimes long before. What the initial public offering and the revenue line together suggest is that More Threads is a serious commercial enterprise in formation, not a government-funded research project. That distinction matters for how you forecast the next few years. Now step back and look at the race structure itself. The dynamic here is asymmetric in a specific way. More Threads is climbing, but Nvidia's ceiling is not fixed. It rises with every new driver release, every new CUDA library, every new model that ships pre-optimized for Hopper or Blackwell architecture, which launched in 2024. The floor for Chinese graphics processing unit capability is rising. The ceiling is moving too. Export controls created the conditions for this race. The United States Bureau of Industry and Security restricted Nvidia H100A 100 chips from sale to Chinese customers in rule changes during 2022 and 2023. When cut-down variants, the H800 and A800, were subsequently restricted as well. The effect was to create a large captive domestic market for whoever could supply serious compute capability inside China. That opportunity is real, but an opportunity does not hand you the win. Reports widely suggest that many Chinese artificial intelligence developers are currently running older Nvidia hardware already purchased before export controls tightened, waiting for domestic alternatives to reach a level of reliability and performance that justifies the migration cost. An opportunity with immature drivers is still an opportunity that developers will work around if they can. The export control regime hands more threads the stage. It does not guarantee the audience stays to watch. There is a race with two clocks. The silicon clock is the one everyone is watching. Chip generations, node processes, floating point operations per second. The software clock is the one that determines whether developers actually build on your platform, whether the ecosystem grows, whether the recipes get written. More threads is in the race on both clocks. The silicon clock is the one they can most directly control. The software clock is the one that determines the finish. Here is my honest read. The triumphalist version of this story, China has challenged Nvidia on graphics processing units, is too strong. The driver stack is years behind. The revenue growth rate is company reported from an unconfirmed base, and no independent benchmark has placed any more threads product in the same performance category as a current Nvidia chip. The dismissive version, more threads is irrelevant, misses the point entirely. This is the only Chinese company running the full race, in a domestic market where Nvidia's best hardware is legally banned, with fresh initial public offering capital and a real unified architecture underneath it all. Neither extreme is right. My actual read is this: more threads is the most strategically important Chinese graphics processing unit story, not because of what it has built yet, but because it is the only Chinese company that has to solve the hard problem: software and ecosystem, rather than the comparatively easier one of silicon. Every Chinese graphics processing unit company that follows will either build on what more threads learns here, or repeat the same mistakes. How more threads closes the software gap, or fails to, will set the template for years. And that brings me to the question I genuinely want your read on. The software gap is real and structural. Years of driver maturity, ecosystem depth, and developer habit that capital alone cannot buy. But in a market where Nvidia's top hardware is legally banned and domestic developers have increasingly limited alternatives, does software immaturity actually stall adoption? Or does the absence of any better option force developers to make it work anyway? Does the gap matter more, or does the captive market matter more? I want your honest take in the comments, because I think reasonable people land on genuinely different sides of that one. We are going to keep tracking more threads driver releases, the first independent benchmarks when they appear, and whether that revenue line holds through the year. Subscribe so you are there when the picture gets clearer. A Chinese graphics processing unit is on both tracks. The split time in the lane that matters most, software, is the number we are still waiting on.